Rev up your engines! Ford Rangers. People are always looking for pickup trucks. This one was just picked up for $3,000. Let's see if you got a good deal. We'll analyze the whole thing about Ford Rangers. Okay, it's got 200,000 miles on it, but here is the gigantic but. See those lights? This was an oversized vehicle. It's warning people, here comes the oversized vehicle. What do those things do? They're on the highway going 65 miles an hour. That is 10% of stop and go city wear. If this thing had 200,000 miles and it was in city stop and go, it would be falling apart. But with highway mileage, that's another story. We're gonna go through the whole truck, but you can see it's an XLT, got a nice cap, and it is a 4x4. Now $3,000 for a four-wheel drive pickup is chicken change these days. So we're gonna analyze this whole thing and see what kind of a deal he got. It looks okay from here, but I mean, we gotta check it all out. Now first, under the hood, this thing has the V6 engine. Now this is the 3-liter V6 engine. They've been around quite some time. Like I said, regular injectors, no turbo, lots of working space. Unlike the modern ones when you can't get to anything, these are easy to work on. 200,000 miles, the engine doesn't burn any oil. Again, like I say, this was a chase vehicle, so it was all highway mileage. The engine still doesn't burn any oil, and it's got plenty enough power for pulling around. He's using it as a farm vehicle. He got it for a knockaround one. He's got a later model F-150 that he uses every day, 2020. And for $3,000, this deal's looking better and better. And strange enough for a Ford, hey, the AC still works. It's an 08, made in the United States, #1. Wasn't made in Mexico. Now it is four-wheel drive. And he does say, when you're going low sometimes, you get a little clunkage. Well, let me tell you, Fords are like that. I've gotten brand new ones with 800 miles on them, and if you do rack-to-rack turn with four-wheel drive on it, you hear noises and it feels weird. That's just Fords. We'll check it out more when we road test it. But you gotta expect that in a Ford. They always had somewhat clunky four-wheel drive at low speeds. They work fine going around, but you do rack-to-rack turning, you're gonna hear noise in a Ford. So we're gonna get our scan tool out. Before we do, yeah, the seat's worn out, but what the heck, you can put a cover on if you want. It's a nice little pickup truck. And for those of you who don't know what these are called hand crank windows. You crank them to get the windows up and down. It's a serious work truck, as you can see. He's even got work drawers in here. He's using it as a nice little work truck. Build himself a little box there, and that keeps the rain off of it. It's a pretty good idea. So we get the scan tool going here. Plug it in, easy enough plug to get to, and we'll start analyzing. Now, these Rangers can be decent pickup trucks for the money. Today, of course, they can't compete with the Toyota Tacoma with its world-beating 600,000 miles with very little trouble-free driving, hardly any repairs. But hey, you're never gonna get a Toyota Tacoma for $3,000 four-wheel drive like this. You're just not going to. That's one of the reasons people buy Rangers. They don't want a big giant F-150. They'll buy a Ranger used and get a pretty good deal. 3-liter automatic gasoline, federal emissions. So we're going to go to analytics. So it's scanning. You can see it is a compact pickup truck. The back end's here, but hey, passenger seat's still in good shape. Obviously, it's been driven a bunch by a driver with nobody else in it. Now it's 100% done, and we got a few problems, nothing outrageous there. Let's kind of go through them. Start with the PCM. Cylinder number 4 misfire, and misfire detected on startup. So it's got a little bit of a misfire, and it's got a code for the restraint control module. It's this old. Usually the airbag systems don't work all that great. Restraint system, airbag fault. We know it was an airbag fault. So the seatbelts still work pretty good. We're going to take it for a road test. So we'll erase the old code, see what happens after the road test. This one is the General Electric module. It's got one fault. See what that is. Tire pressure sensor fault. Well, that makes sense because when we look, you can see there's a tire pressure monitor warning light. He's got a piece of black tape on it so he doesn't have to look at it. Start it up now, and we'll look at live data. We'll go to powertrain control module, look up live data, and here we go, we got live data. Let's start looking at it. Battery voltage good, 14.06, no fault in all these sensors. There's no misfires yet because I reset the misfire counter, so obviously it's a very minor problem. It shows you fuel tank pressure for the evap system, anti-pollution. All 6 injectors show no faults. As we look at fuel trim, not too bad for 200,000 miles. It's a short-term fuel trim on 1. It's subtracting a tiny bit of fuel, then adding a little bit of fuel. And for trim 2, it's subtracting a little, then adding a little. It's not that bad. That's small percentage on an old vehicle like this. Now, I can feel a misfire, so now we erase the code. So let's go back. I'm going to run the Ford Keon engine running codes. So here we go. It's going to run the test itself while we're sitting here. I'm not touching anything. It's doing it itself. Press and release the brake pedal. Turn the steering wheel 1/2 turn and release. Cycle the overdrive switch. On, off, on, off. Now my computer's running the computer to the car. Like I say, I'm not doing anything. This is all being done by the computer testing it. See, the powertrain control module code came back, and it's for misfire cylinder number 4 again. So as we go on with the hood, that cylinder's got a little minor misfire to it. And as we go to the back, you can definitely hear it. Chunk, 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 chunk. Now in this case, here's a little Sherlock Holmes. He's already changed the spark plug wires in the spark plugs, and every once in a while, he gets a check engine light for cylinder number 4 misfire. Well, it only happens at lower speeds, not on highway speeds. The computer shows there's no fault in the injector, so it's not an injector problem. He changed spark plug wires and spark plugs, so it's not that. But as you can see, this is number 4 in the front, right? Here's the EGR valve. It feeds the EGR gases right there by cylinder number 4. Now they don't do emissions testing here in Tennessee, so people really don't care. But if he wants to do an experiment, he can take the EGR valve off, plug up the hole, and if it stopped misfiring, you'd know it was the EGR system that was injecting too much exhaust gas. The wrong time when it's low causes it to misfire, because it doesn't misfire at higher speeds. Doesn't burn oil. So, odds are, it's just getting a little bit off. He's probably not going to do anything because it's a farm vehicle, but at least now he has a better idea why it's still misfiring, although he changed all those parts. Because my machine showed it's not the injectors, so there's no sense farting around with them, and it's just getting a cylinder 4 misfire. Every once in a while, it turns the engine on, it turns it off. So I'm assuming it's the EGR system. It's actually got a little bit better just sitting here. So that's the only logical thing. The pinwheel's probably breaking down, seeping exhaust gas at idle, and then you get a little bit of a misfire. But it doesn't do it at highway speed. So now you learn a little bit more about how EGR systems can screw up old cars. I'll take it for a little road test. There's no backup camera in this whole thing. We'll have to use the mirrors. And it's a Ford. You can hear various creaks. We turn it, it'll probably creak like mad. There it goes, creaking Ford. They always made noise. The thing is, it runs down the road. See, when you give it gas, there's no misfire then, so I'm really betting on the EGR valve is letting a little too much EGR gas in at idle, so it has that little misfire on the cylinder that's right next to where the valve is, number 4. 200,000 miles, hey, still running pretty good. Typical Ford, you hear it, but it still goes down the road. 4-wheel drive, so you can hear a little more humming than in a normal one, but it's nothing outrageous. None of the bearings are really worn out or anything. So let's put it in 4-wheel high and see how it goes. Now it's in a 4x4, tells you right here. It's going pretty good. Don't hear any really odd noises. You hear a little more humming because it's in 4-wheel drive high. Pretty good 4-wheel drive operation for something with over 200,000 miles on it. And we're gonna have a little drag strip. So we'll come to a stop, put it back in 2-wheel drive. Oh, there's nobody behind us, so we will switch to 2-wheel high. And on your mark, get set, go! Not a race truck, but it gets going fast enough. This is now a country work truck. It doesn't rattle all that much when you're going down the highway. 4-wheel low, and you're gonna hear, it will make some noise. They often do on these as they wear. Even when they're new, they make some noise. You can feel it, you can hear it. The 4-wheel low is only for really low speeds, and it's not really made for turn-to-turn corners, so we'll put it back to normal. As you can see, the 4-wheel drive's off. Now, you can have better acceleration. So in this case, it's a typical Ford. The 4-wheel high works perfectly fine, but the 4-wheel low does clunk a little. The Fords are just like that. It still works. It just clunks a little bit when you're in 4-wheel low. But I've seen brand new Fords with 800 miles that clunk somewhat in 4-wheel low. And like I say, you don't feel any misfire at all while you're driving down the road at any kind of speed. It's just at idle that gets that misfire, and it's probably because the EGR valve's messed up and sending EGR gas at idle when it's not supposed to. And since it's right next to cylinder number 4 on the intake, it will end up messing up the air-fuel ratio of cylinder number 4 and cause a misfire. Not a bad deal for $3,000. I'm sure it's a Ford, you're gonna hear creaks here and there when you're turning and driving, but hey, it's still going down the road. Not really all that creaky now after it's warmed up. So there we have it, a $3,000 Ranger 4-wheel drive. Runs perfectly fine other than a minor misfire at idle. And like I said, this is Tennessee. We don't do emissions testing, so people really don't care. He might fool around with plugging it up just for kicks to see if it'll stop it, but doesn't burn oil, runs perfectly fine, has those cool lights on it. You find something like this that's been a chase vehicle, that's spent a lot of time on the highway, this thing's still got tons of life left in it. And for $3 grand, hey, you got one heck of a deal. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.